Hi, I'm Garmbreak1, and this is Midgardy RPG. I'm here today with Jay Iles. How's it going?
Oh, really good, thank you. It's a nice sunny morning here in Oxford.
It is the dead of night out here in Alberta. Uh, Time zones are fun.
Time
Um,
zones are fun.
yeah. So you're here today to talk about, well, you've had a couple of fairly successful projects. You can see one of them
Mm.
right behind me. Pointing at things behind me on this camera is actually really hard. Um, but today you're here to talk about Voidheart Symphony. So why don't you tell me a little
Yes.
bit about that?
So, Voidheart Symphony is a game set in the modern day where the world is controlled in many ways by oppressive structures of power that seek to extract profit and joy and love from people's lives to fuel the leader's own petty ambitions. So, it's a bit of a fantasy, obviously, not very realistic. But you are people in this city who, in a city where this is particularly important, or where the story is focusing, who have seen that there's a overt supernatural power backing some of the individuals making your city just a terrible place. You've seen like monsters lurking in alleyways. You've seen fires glinting in the eyes of a manager as he fires his workers. You've seen, you know, horns growing out of a group of a mob as they search for people to victimize, that sort of thing. And you have decided to do something about it. So you play a group of rebels, as the system calls them, who have found a passage into the void, the shadow, where this force that is empowering and corrupting some of the worst human elements resides. So the way the game works is that it goes in a series of investigations. Each investigation, you find one of these empowered people who is causing problems in your lives, or maybe you're seeking out them to uh, inflict vengeance on them, or what have you. And you'll bounce between delving into this shard of the void that is sort of dedicated to their own psyche, and using that to better understand them. Then using those understandings to investigate them in the mundane world and understand what's the sort of key to their heart, what their vulnerabilities are, that sort of thing. And then finally, summoning an avatar of themselves in that void, defeating it, and stealing their power for your own. And to do this, you'll have the help of the other players, but you'll also have the help of your covenants. Uh, NPC non-player characters around, each themed under particular arcana, um, who from their strength and from their advice and from their wisdom and such, you can draw power. So it's a game where a lot of what you can do is on comes from your character sheet, of course, but a lot of it also comes from your covenants, and you'll have like little cards in front of you, like, because I've got this relationship with a lawyer, I can react particularly well when I use the a monster's bad deeds against it, or because I have a particularly good relationship with let's see, what's a good one, with this investigative reporter, I can create a beam of light that illuminates darkness and um, acts as a laser, maybe. So yeah, it's as astute listeners who have ever had any interaction with the Persona series might know that this is basically my love letter to Persona. Um, well, love letter is a bit of a strong word because so Persona 5 I really, really liked, but it incredibly dropped the ball on a number of different things, specifically queer representation, female representation, um, and also just a general following through of its political themes. So yeah, that's Voidheart Symphony basically.
Nice. I only played Persona 4, and I didn't complete that because I couldn't bring myself to break people's hearts at the end of social links. Um,
Oh
Such is life. I'm a big softie
yeah,
deep down.
yeah,
Um,
same.
so I can't comment on Persona 5, but I have heard mixed things about various aspects of its presentation.
well, I mean, even in Persona 4, you've got the whole Kanji and Naoto plot lines,
Yeah,
which could have been better.
I found both of them highly enjoyable, especially Kanji.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, for one, like, I mean, it's fine, but I would have liked to have the possibility in my mind that it could have had the resolution that yes, he is actually gay and is cool with it.
I my impression was always like solidly bisexual.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair reading.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's one point where he says like it's not about guys and girl or guys or girls. I'm just afraid of rejection, and I was just like, all right, well,
Huh, okay, well there we go.
yeah.
Maybe
Uh,
I'm misremembering then.
I mean, or
Um,
I am. That's also a possibility.
yeah, so that is the game, and I have been putting it up, various versions of it up online for people to read and play and test since about January. Um, and yeah, so we're now sort of building up to an actual Kickstarter push, getting a good new version out of it, a print run, a tarot deck for all the contact cards, which I'm very excited by because I am a big fan of such things.
It's fair, and that's slated for October the 14th, I believe.
October the I might have changed it since I last talked to you. October the 16th is
16th,
when we're yeah.
in theory, sometime in October. Uh,
Yes,
well, that's awesome. And this is this another Powered by the Apocalypse kind of game,
it
or
is. Yeah, although like I have changed up the base formula quite a bit. The main thing for that that people might find interesting is there's a key split in the mechanics between mundane world stuff and uh, delving into shadow fighting monsters stuff. So, because one of the things I really liked about Persona 5 in particular is it has this dynamic where your investigative crew are trying to investigate quite dangerous people. Um, but while they have all these cool fancy powers in the shadow realm, whatever it's called, they are just normal kids and such in the mundane world, and so they've got to work out how to deal with that. And there's like this real sort of tension and danger there, which is pretty good. So I completely changed the rolling mechanic when you're in the mundane world, as opposed to when you're in the shadow. So, like in the shadow, you're doing the standard PBTA thing, you know, rolling 2d6 plus stat, 7 to 9, 10 plus, etc. And that's because you know your stats are things you can depend on. They're things that you can rely on. It might be uncertain, but you're probably going to, you know what your strengths are. In the mundane world, you're rolling against your stresses. So, like when you're, for example, when you're making a stand against someone, you're rolling against how healthy you're feeling at the moment. Or when you're trying to bring in a contact to help investigation, you're rolling against how reviled and ostracized you are, and that sort of thing. And so, over the course of the investigation, you've got to manage these tracks. You've got to manage how you're doing on various different stresses, and yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah,
I absolutely adore resource management kind of stuff like that, and stress tracks.
yeah,
I read a bunch of Cortex Plus when I was younger, and their weird stress track system stuck with me forever. Um, yeah,
yeah,
that's super cool.
yeah. Yeah, it was partially inspired by things in Fate, of course. Also a bit by the stress track system in Spire, actually,
That's another
which
one I really
has
need to. Yeah,
uh, check out Heart Kickstarting now. I'm doing layout for that one, so I'm allowed to plug it.
nice. And Voidheart Symphony is kind of a spiritual successor to Rhapsody of Blood. Is that? Am I
Hmm.
correct in that matter?
100%, yeah. So Rhapsody of Blood was basically my Castlevania ripoff, where you had multiple generations of explorers facing down an evil castle that invades our reality. And yeah, that I really, really loved its sort of kinetic action combat, which is come through mostly unscathed into Voidheart, including its castle exploration system, because that works really well for me. But yeah, the sort of basic kind of idea is they are theoretically set in the same universe-ish, but something has happened where at some point maybe one of the sides won completely, and maybe something else weird happened. But instead of a castle invading and being all sort of Dracula-like on the moors and spreading armies of demons, it's sort of subtly infiltrating and forming a hierarchy in society, spreading its power across multiple people at multiple levels to make everything just shittier. And there is a question of whether, like, if you wanted to, you could link them and have the heroic bloodlines from Rhapsody play some sort of role in a Voidheart game. But it's very much more about ordinary people noticing the darkness and deciding to make a stand against it than it is people who have been sort of trained in holy warrior arts since birth or whatever.
Right, which is definitely a much more modern kind of story.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do have plans for maybe a third in the series, which is taking inspiration more from Metroid and such. If we're going into sort of the Castlevania to Metroidvania sort of thing, and going into space and doing all sorts of fun things there. But like, I have no real plans for that. Just think it'd be fun to do.
I appreciate the thought process there. Just like Metroid's kind of a Castlevania. Yeah.
Basically. And is also one of my favorite game series. Also like Castlevania. So.
Are you enjoying the Castlevania cartoon on Netflix, by the way?
Oh, it's so good.
It's so
It's
good.
like, whenever anyone wants to, whenever I need to tell anyone what Rhapsody of Blood is about, I see if I can do it by queuing up the castle lobby fight scene in series 2, the one with the one where it's just the three protagonists just storming the vampires, and it's just this amazing fight scene. And yeah, that whole episode is just perfection. I mean, like, the first series was weirdly short, but with the second one, it's amazing, I think.
Yeah, it's a bizarre series, just with the first 4 episodes being that, but it's
Yeah,
shockingly well executed.
yeah. It reminds me, like, kind of made me think of like some of the things we get from the BBC here over here. Like, they have this weird habit, or used to at least, of just commissioning 3-episode series.
Yeah,
Like, and that almost makes sense when it's something like, I don't know, Sherlock or whatever, where they're 3 like movie length, freshly produced things. But like, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
The first
that's a complete tangent.
hey, the first 3 seasons of Sherlock are great.
The first series of Sherlock are better than what follows them.
Yeah, and then you get Spooks, which goes on for like
Oh yeah,
8 seasons or something, and then gets like a weird spin-off with kids and the I don't know, man.
yeah. And,
Weird
but they're
show.
really, really tiny seasons. Mm.
Yeah. Weird show. Anyway, yes. Those
But yeah,
people in Spooks are not the kinds of people you're probably fighting the people from Spooks at least one point in here.
I mean, probably, yeah. I mean, so one of the nice things about the Void Heart is one of the choices you make when making your character is what sort of age category they're in, and it sort of kind of links up to like a sort of Gen Y, Gen X, Gen Z sort of thing. In that it's like whether you're currently a teen or student, or whether you're like a young adult trying to make your way in the world, or whether you're an established adult. And this affects sort of what your mundane job is, and thus how you can deal with stress on a day-to-day basis. But it also gives you a permanent mark in one of those stress gauges. So, like, teens have a permanent mark in the one that governs sort of social respectability. young adults have a permanent mark in the one that governs the stability of your living situation, and adults, you know, established adults have a permanent mark in the one that governs how the castle's way of thinking has sort of kind of contaminated your own mind, and how likely you are to just sort of accept the world for how it is.
That's super cool.
And yeah, because I definitely like, I mean, another thing about Persona is it's generally about teens going on murder investigations and that sort of thing. And but they tend to have quite a lot of allies of various different ages, especially thanks to the covenant system in that. Or contacts, whatever. I don't quite
So
remember what it's called.
social links is
That's the word, social links.
yeah.
Um, and that's not really been my experience of like real world protest movements and social change movements. Is that, you know, when they're at their best, you've got people from across all sorts of generations working together. But part of that is, you know, understanding how the individual issues of each generation need to be acknowledged and like maybe sometimes put aside for the common cause or integration of the common cause. You know, basically protest movements are messy, and I want to try and create some of that mess.
Yeah, that's fair. Tying together people with issues that may, contradict each other. Like not everybody at every protest movement is going to agree on everything, but there's the one big reason they're there. And we've
Hmm.
seen protest movements over the past, how long ago was Occupy Wall Street? 10.
Yeah. God,
What?
that was 10 years ago,
Oh
maybe.
Lord, yeah. Yeah, we saw Occupy Wall Street kind of dissipate because they could not stay consistently on message.
Yeah. It's like with Extinction Rebellion at the moment. I was at one of their protests a couple of weeks ago, and that's a really interesting movement at the moment because it has a huge sort of focus on the kids who are marching against climate change, and you know you've got this, but obviously it's a lot of it is organised by adults, and so you really do have this huge spectrum of ages, and more than other marches and movements I've been to, it does seem to have an actual appreciation for seeing like everyone's concerns is valid, which is cool.
yeah, and it's a spectrum on that, right? Like
Mm,
acknowledging but still kind of keeping everybody on message is
mm,
yeah.
yes.
I'm out in the boonies, so I don't actually get to go to actual protests very often. My
Mm.
in-person activism is limited down to ripping down fascist stickers on all my local lampposts.
Well, thanks for your service.
I'm gonna do my best.
Yeah. It's weird because, like, here in Oxford, I see a huge amount of pro-trans graffiti and stickers everywhere, which, you know, obviously I love, but I know that it's in response to a similar turf sticker campaign, and I've never seen a single one, and I think that um, that's nice. You know, it's nice when when I don't have to see it, and people are going out of their way to deal with it.
Yeah,
So thank you for like doing that.
we all do what we can.
Yeah,
Just kind of wish I didn't have to, but
yeah,
Alberta, what you gonna do? Uh,
yeah, indeed.
um, yeah. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with respect to Voidheart Symphony, or even just in general?
One final thing is that before the Kickstarter comes up, we're going to be launching a call for more writers for the book because with all the topics I've talked about, you know, they're very sort of political, they're very specific to people's lives. And I want it to have more perspectives than just like a white, middle class, trans British lady thing, which is its own, you know, uh, specific perspective. So we were looking to hire people from all sorts of other backgrounds to talk about like interesting people that your characters can meet, cities that your story might take place in, and what the particular pressures and issues there are there, and how they can manifest. Particular nasty investigation targets for your people to go after, that sort of thing,
Yeah,
and
and
really sort of provide a big diversity of perspectives on how a fight against systemic injustice and corruption and prejudice can go.
yeah, and that's super interesting. I can see how I would put together some plot hooks for the nearest major city by me. It's mostly funded by oil money, so
Yeah,
easy.
yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I'm sure there are
Yeah,
plenty of people who will be interested in that. That kind of game and those kinds of themes seem, not
hmm.
shockingly, pretty popular right now with Sigmata and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was quite a wave recently of uprising games in many ways.
Some good,
They've,
some
yeah, some less good, some less good. Um, yeah. All right, so yeah, keep an eye out on the UFO Press website, which is ufopress.co.uk, or the UFO Press Twitter, which is UFO Press RPGs, GS, UFO Press RPGS. I had to put the S on there. For announcements about that, because like I really am looking forward to getting a lot of interesting people in, and even people who haven't wrote for a role-playing game before.
yeah. Well, I hope you find some more writers, and I hope this helps with that. I certainly know a
Mm,
few people who would be very interested in that kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I
excellent.
I think that about wraps us up.
Yeah,
It was
well,
lovely. It was lovely talking to you.
good to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And for all of you watching at home, have a good night, everybody.
bye.